Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Jared Brandon.
Chris Graham.
Todd Novak. Hey, how you doing? Chris, you got to take your gum out, son.
Oh, you're right.
Gee, many Christmas is primary school. Hey, everybody, how you doing?
Sorry about that.
It's okay. So here we are at another episode, and we are super stoked to be. Do I sound really lame saying that? Kind of super stoked, I guess.
No, man, it's the holidays. You're supposed to be super stoked.
I should be. I hate Thanksgiving, though. Anyways, but we're not talking about that.
Me too.
Do you?
Overrated.
Let's talk about that over not Thanksgiving food / pizza later.
Sounds good.
Okay, we have a jam-packaronied show, and that is super exciting. Hefe, a.k.a. Jeff, is... I have no idea where he is. Jeff is a very elusive character, so I don't even know if he knows where he is a lot of the time. So anyhow, we're going to start out with a new segment. Maybe I should do a sound effect for that. New segment. I know everything's kind of echoey, so maybe I'll do it like robot voice or something like that. Or I could do like really...
Auto-tune.
New segment.
Yeah. Sorry, I probably shouldn't have done that. That was weird.
Okay, our new segment is it's simple. It's super simple. It's shout outs. And we are getting a lot of them, so I figured, you know what? Hey, if you're taking the time to give us a nod, a heads up, a hi, how you doing, a high five, whatever, that we ought to as well. So we have a couple. We had John Parsons Guitar Workshop, who I found on Instagram. Well, I mean, I didn't find him. Guess he technically found us. He posted something where he was ebonizing wood, which was really cool. It was like mixing vinegar and steel wool on wood.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ebony's really hard to get now. So
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
that's why they do it.
That and
Okay.
ivory. They're both hard to get.
Yeah.
Ebony and ivory.
You
There
kind
it
of
is.
hedged out there. Anyway, so what was cool is I was watching this. I didn't know why he tagged us. I was just like, oh, okay, cool. Thanks for the tag. And then I'm listening. I'm like, wait, that's me in the background. So it was cool. He was doing his workshop thing, building guitars out in Launceston, Tasmania. And I'm like,
What?
people live in Tasmania. That's crazy.
That's really cool.
So yeah, it was really. I mean, we talk about this a lot at the beginning of these shows, is like just the power of the internet and the voice. So here's a dude building guitars out in Tasmania in his awesome workshop, listening to our show, and I like that was absolutely the high of my day. Right?
That's probably the complete opposite of the world from where we are right now,
Yeah,
to a point.
yeah. Politically, or
Well,
complete.
I mean like
no, you were saying figuratively.
figurative. Yeah, I mean like if
But
you
you're
drilled a
saying
hole
geographically.
straight down, we'd probably pop out in his guitar store.
Maybe.
Shop.
I don't know. I don't think he'd like that because he just rearranged the shop and he's very proud of how it was rearranged. I am envious of his guitar shop. I'm envious of most people's guitar shops. And when I say shop, I don't mean store. I mean where he builds guitars or does repairs.
Where it all happens.
We also had Vox Shades and Jared Lee Goslin on Instagram, who just, they just took a little bit of time to leave us some cool comments. And
You're going to be a star, Jared Lee Goslin. You have the name for it. Jared Lee Goslin.
I like it already.
Sounds
Yeah.
famous.
but just not the initials together. GLJ, GG,
GS.
JLG,
JLG.
something like that. We just did I put a lot of blog power behind our compressor podcast, and we've gotten a lot of talk about it, which is cool. And I don't mean talk from like, oh, everybody's talking about it. I mean talk back to us. Like, I think it was one of those episodes that people like said, holy crap, I learned something from this, which is
Cool.
I love that because I know that I did. So
That makes me feel good.
yeah, that's great. Let's move on. We had Jonathan Jerusik he shared a link with us about some guitars, and we got on a long email convo, and that guy's got like a ton of really good gear, like not a whole bunch of crap gear. He's got like legit really good, like a stock of really good guitars. So
Nice.
he wanted to share that with us, and I appreciated that. Rob Marfleet from Trinidad today hit us up.
Trinidad.
Yeah, in the West Indies, and he said he was listening, and it helped him get through heavy traffic. And I commented, and I'll kind of paraphrase the comment, but I was sitting there pondering, like, how bad is traffic in Trinidad?
I saw your post about LA, the picture of traffic in LA.
I grew up in LA.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's little tiny tears right there. but hey, look, if it sucks, then I'm glad that we're helping you out with that, Rob. We really appreciate you giving us a proverbial high five.
I would like to go to Trinidad someday.
I would too. It's probably amazing.
I want to go just because of the name.
Yeah. Okay. Like meatloaf.
That's right.
I want to eat meatloaf because it just sounds like the name sounds good. And we've got a whole bunch of new members in our Facebook forum, and we appreciate you being there. We are still a super fledgling company. It's not a company, but a fledgling whatever this is. I get excited when one person responds or joins or anything. And I remember when we first started this, it was like I was texting everybody on here like, we just hit 50 people, blah, and now we're like, I was way beyond that. But I'm excited every single time we make a connection. So keep them coming. We also had, we got something from Augustine Arandado, who is also a SoCal guy. Like literally, he grew up and moved to the same exact places where I was. And he's like about my age. I'm like, man, I bet our circles are crossed. Maybe. I don't know. Cities are big, so maybe not. But it was cool. Anytime you could make a connection like that. He had a bunch of questions about he liked the pickup series that we were doing. We got a lot of good comments on that. So if you haven't listened to the pickup series, I encourage you to go through those. Pickups 101, part 1, 2, and 3. He also had some amp questions that we're going to look a little bit deeper into because they were pretty specific, and I don't want to just glaze over them. I'd like to actually answer them with a little bit of beef behind it. And then we have a question from Tom Brazen, who asked about Fender noiseless pickups, how they work, and are they, should he keep them? Should he move on to something cooler and boutique? So I'm going to kick that one over.
Are they buzzworthy?
Big Jerry. Oh man, that was
pretty good.
That was
not bad.
They are not buzzworthy.
For Tom, yeah.
Jared is our resident pickup expert. So there
Thank
you
you
go.
for saying
Jared Brandon. Floor is all yours.
So
you
yeah,
can talk
Tom,
anytime you want now.
I don't know if you have them right now, but they're very good. They're very good pickups, and they're a little more boomier. There's I would say there's more room for doing a few more things with those because they do, in my opinion, they have a wider range of use than the vintage pickups. Now the vintage pickups, they're single coils, and
You're talking about the vintage, just like a vintage.
the vintage single coil, old traditional non-noiseless. Right. Should
Fully
you keep
noise.
those? They do have their uses and everything, and they sound like pianos. I mean, you can barely get the same peak resonance.
What does that mean? They sound like pianos.
Chimey.
Okay.
They're, resonant and, I don't know, bright.
Okay.
So,
Well, that's good.
but these, the vintage noiseless are they're pretty close. They don't sound like humbuckers. They don't have the thick mid-range honk like humbuckers do, but yet they're not as thin and, well, I don't want to use the word thin in a bad way, but they're not as chimey as an original single coil, especially in a neck position. However, they still have some of the same qualities as a single coil because of the structure of the pickup itself. There are 2 coils instead of just one, and they're very small coils, and they use very thin, small wire, much thinner than a traditional single coil, because there are 2 coils, and they need to fit 2 coils into the same cavity as you would the original. So 2 coils, they do run in series, and they use a very strong magnet. The magnet is placed in between the 2 coils. So they do buck each other. They buck the hum, so they don't have that single coil 60 cycle hum. And I suggest you try them out. And
It sounds like he
compare
already
the
has
two.
them, though, I think.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
That's up to you. I mean, I can't tell you to keep them. I can't tell you to get rid of them. It is personal choice.
So what might you, so like, let me expand on a question a little bit, like if I am him. So I have these vintage noiseless pickups. I think they sound pretty good. Or is it just a gimmick? Would I be better off getting like some boutique? Would I get better tone out of a boutique pickup?
If you're trying to sound like Jimi Hendrix, get the boutique, vintage, spec. That's what you want to do.
That's a good question. So if we're saying, okay, vintage noiseless pickups are good for what?
Not having a single cycle hum.
Yeah, and if you're going to be using a lot of compression to do like a really, heavily compressed lead type of thing,
okay,
almost like maybe a Coldplay or the Edge type thing, where you're going to compress the snot out of it and do a lot of like do 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 that type of stuff. Like that was terrible. I don't do a good guitar impression.
Though.
Yeah, but if you're going to compress a lot, that'll bring your noise floor up and give you a lot more hums.
You mean like muted staccato stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
That type of stuff, or anything that's going to be lead but is going to be compressed heavily. If you want to do a single coil sound with that, you're going to get a lot of hum, and it'll kind of come and go depending on how loud you're playing.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if you're doing like some like raw, like maybe small band blues or something, and you want to hear the instrument kind of talk, that's probably not what you want. Is that what I'm getting?
I don't know.
Like a lead blues lick. Like if you just got a lead blues
I know what you
three-piece
mean.
or
Like
something.
you
You're not
want
going to
a
compress
little
that
bit,
super
the
heavy.
presence
Yeah.
of everything.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's but the bottom line is, I think it is up to him. I mean, I can't make his mind up. But
I think I'm going to throw something else out here too. I think noiseless is a term. Fender's like name marketing is just awful. Sorry, Fender.
Maybe they should hire a new marketing agency.
I mean, seriously, like,
but they're right though.
Well, but they're not. They're not total. They're not completely noiseless, right?
They don't have the single cycle hum.
But they're not noiseless. Like if you can hear it plugged in.
They're actually noisier.
Well,
Okay,
that's the
so-
funny
Well,
thing.
without the
Noiseless
hum.
means they don't work.
Right, and I would think, well, yeah, true. But I think that there's also when you think about like active pickups, or you could say are technically noiseless.
They have a stronger magnetic field, a much stronger. They're really strong magnets, and there's more presence with the vintage noiseless. And I think they're trying to capture I think they're trying to get that resonant peak. They're trying to make it sound like an original vintage pickup without the hum.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So because there's 2 coils, they're kind of taking away some of the brightness, and to bring the brightness back, you have the heavier magnet, or the stronger magnet. So
How would that compare to like a lace sensor?
the lace sensor, the structure is completely different. They are still single coils, but the way they have this funny brass shield inside, so that it makes it less noisier.
Okay.
But they're still
Some noise
noisier. So they're going to kind of be in between that vintage noiseless and the original
there. Okay. So
spec.
we're gonna do a real quick rundown. So on a scale from noisiest to least noisy.
Let me throw an idea
After
in
this.
there before,
Right after this.
before we do that.
Yeah.
I would say if you have single coil pickups and you're thinking about getting the noiseless, I would say press pause on that before you buy the noiseless. And if you haven't shielded the interior of your guitar cavity, you might try that first. It's very cheap and very effective. And what that means,
mine are all shielded. Yeah.
Yeah,
I went through and did all that on
yeah,
mine,
you take everything apart,
which is fun.
take all the parts out, and then you basically buy copper tape, and you stick it all over the inside holes, and then you make sure it's all grounded.
You can also do that with glue, with like spray mat and aluminum
Yeah,
foil.
there's
I mean, that's a
several
little sketchier,
different
but
techniques,
there's a lot
there's a lot of ways to
You're
do
right.
it.
It cuts down on the noise. It does.
Yeah,
and also the inside of your pick guard.
yeah, that too. Yeah, and a lot of guitar makers don't do that. You know, I bought a really nice Gibson Les Paul with 2 P90s on it, and no shielding on the insides. I immediately
Boutique makers
bought
tend
it.
to do that, but
Yeah.
anyways, okay, so you got, let's say the couple of pickups we've been talking about, just really quick, all right? And I know this isn't like pickup bonanza here, but we got noisiest that we've been talking about is what?
Oh, the original vintage specification
Original vintage, next less noisy.
is the Jeff Lace. Well, Lace sensors.
Okay, and
Jeff
then
Lace
the third
invented them.
least noisy,
The vintage noiseless.
and then the most least noisy. Or is that the vintage?
That's it.
Okay, those three. All right. So the
A humbucker works kind of the same way. So
okay, we won't throw active in there then.
nah.
Okay.
I want to
Jared.
add one more thing about the pickup thing here.
Okay.
And I was talking with Lindy Fralin about 5 years ago. Great guy to talk to, and he even admits he talks on the phone too much. But in my conversation with him, it's true. In my conversation with him, he said, "You know what? No matter what you do, you will never get the true single coil sound out of anything that's not a true single coil." He said,
That's like a successory poster.
yeah, you have to put up with that hum. He said, you have to sacrifice to get that true single coil sound. You just can't do it. He knows what he's talking about.
If you still
'cause
have a
he's-
ton of noise, throw a freaking gate on your board or something like that.
Yeah, I find from the recording industry that I work in that a lot of people fixate on stuff like hum or background noise or whatever, and I can say for sure many of the best recordings, the best songs in the history of music are super noisy.
Have life to it.
And it's because the artist was focusing on making great art rather than, well, I'm going to make sure my hum
the
is
original
invisible.
recording of Since I've Been Loving You, it has that bass drum kick.
Yeah, there's
squeak.
a couple of them like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of junk.
Everybody
and great
talks
songs.
I
about
love
the
that.
squeak.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's for the drum podcast though. Anyways, all right, moving on. We had so we were talking a couple, I think, of a podcast or two ago, or maybe it was the last one that I haven't put up yet. Anyways, we were talking about it, and it was we briefly touched on capos, and so I wanted to Chris has had a lot of experience with capos. And he has quite an array of them. So I said, hey, why don't you bring those in and just kind of show us what's up? This stemmed from, if I recall correctly, I had switched capos and was using them. I have a Godin. We think it's pronounced Godin, and if we're not saying it right, sorry. We all said it differently coming in, and we just agreed to call it Godin. I have a Godin Fifth Avenue matte black with a P90 in it, and I like it a lot.
Sweet G chord.
Yeah. And I think he was mocking you, Chris. So my thing was, when I use a capo, there's a lot of different kinds. There's all different kinds with tension, not tension, locking, all that business. And I thought I was doing it right, but I was always confused because I'm like, man, this sounds sour. It just no matter what I was doing, it just sounded sour. And so he's going to kind of walk through that because he said, I can help you. So we're going to help everybody right now. All right.
Gotcha.
The floor is yours, Chris.
Awesome. Well, I think the biggest thing with capos, the biggest frustration with them, and I was talking to Jeff yesterday about this. Well, actually, that was something different. Anyways, the biggest thing with capos is when you play in a band and you just bought like the $14 Kaiser or Dunlop cheapo capo that's basically a piece of rubber, some metal, and a spring, and you put it on your guitar, especially if you have a keyboard player or a bass player, which most bands have at least one, you immediately notice, oh, my guitar isn't totally in tune with the band anymore. Crud. What do I do about this?
That was me.
Yeah, that was you. And
I'm the lead, so that's a problem.
And what happens with that, and the reason there have been a lot of new capos that have come out recently is to address this issue. I'm holding in my hand a Dunlop capo that has a really stiff spring in it. And that's really the issue, is a lot of these older Dunlop Kaiser-style capos have a real strong string in them. And what happens is it's sort of like, if I'm going to just play a note here, I'm just kind of pressing on the 3rd fret on the E string. If I continue to press harder and push all the way, I'm not moving my finger, I'm just pushing harder, I can make the note go up and down. I can play out of tune. And that's exactly what happens with these older capos, is when you put it on, especially if it's too far behind the fret, you get, and so everything is a little tighter on the guitar, and that E chord, capoed on the 3rd fret, is a little bit higher.
It sharps everything, right?
It sharps everything. So, and that's the same thing with the Kaiser. The Kaiser and Dunlop basically do the same thing.
Now, I will say that I would maybe price might be a factor, but the overriding thing is of like when we're doing our thing, we do a Johnny Cash tribute too. And one of the bands, we've got a couple of them, and one of them is a Johnny Cash tribute. And it's like capo on, capo off, capo on, capo off. Like literally, we have it on our set list so that we don't forget. And so the idea of having something that's locked in perfectly, so it was like I can't do that. I gotta get moving, man.
Well, you got to be able to move quick with the capo, and I think that's the big thing. Let me talk about the G7th for a bit. I've definitely spent $100+ on capos, probably $200+
You mean each?
Cumulatively.
Cumulative.
So like this, I'm probably at least on my 1,000th capo at this point, and or close to.
You should get like one of those tile things that tell you where you lose your stuff or something.
Yeah. Well, the thing I love about the G7th is that they're like $25, so they're a lot more expensive, maybe even $30 depending on where you buy it. Mm-hmm. They're a lot more expensive than a cheaper capo, but I would say, and I'll explain the reason here for just a minute, you shouldn't buy a fancy pedal or a fancy guitar if you're still using 30-year-old capo technology and you're using a capo a lot, because the capo, it's one of those things, it makes you sound bad. It's not a tone thing, it's a pitch thing. So if it makes you play out of tune, throw it away.
Yeah.
And I think that's
your 2000 guitar that sounds out of tune is going to be a complete waste.
If you've got a 1965 Fender twin reverb and a 1958 Les Paul and a Kaiser freaking capo and you're playing on the 5th fret, it don't sound good, man.
Now, I would imagine the larger frets you use, the higher frets you use.
That is absolutely true. So the higher your frets are, the more you can push down.
Right.
The more sour you're going to sound.
Right.
And that's one of the things a really, really good guitar player instinctively knows how much to push the string down. So if I play, a G chord, but then I push a little harder, I can totally make the chord sound out of tune.
100%.
Depending on how hard I press. So this is where the G7th comes in.
Will you just one more time? You did a single note on there, and don't talk over it. Just do the single note.
All I'm doing is pushing harder on the 3rd fret. And
that actually sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it does sound kind of cool.
I'm like, okay, a good bit. I'm thinking of a beat behind that.
Well, the G7th is great because it has a clutch in it. And it has a locking clutch. So you put it on, and you put just enough tension on it to where it grabs the strings. You're right behind the fret, and suddenly needs a little more tension. That sounds good. If I squeeze it really hard, it'll keep the tension on the guitar. Now it'll play really out of tune. It's just a little bit higher than it was before.
Yeah.
So the G7th is amazing, and there's a couple capos that do this because it's adjustable tension. So you can be sure that you're only going to get as much tension as you need, and your guitar is still going to play in tune. And the big thing you got to keep in mind too is not only is as you push that string harder, are you going to change the pitch of the string? But when you have a capo on there, if you're fretting any notes above that capo, not only do you have the tension of the capo on the string, you have the tension of your fingers.
Right.
So you really don't have a whole lot of room for extra tension.
Yeah, do me a favor and throw the Dunlop one on really quick so that we hear that it's a little sour.
So that's, if we had someone playing piano along with me or something like
Right.
that.
Okay,
So
now
that's the Dunlop.
fret a little bit higher with the cheap one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the higher you go, the worse it's going to get,
Right,
too.
that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah, so if you're going to go 5th fret with the Dunlop,
and then so like yeah, okay.
let's do 7th fret. Oh.
Yeah.
But, so let's do the 7th fret with the
G7.
G7th.
Yeah.
That's not half
It's
bad.
better.
It's
It's better.
definitely better, yeah. So the G7th really lets you have a lot more control.
Okay.
So I would say, if you're looking for money to spend on yourself to make yourself a better guitar player, if you ever use a capo,
Yeah.
get a G7th or something with that's adjustable
So
tension.
I have another one over there that is a Planet Waves, and that has a
Yeah.
screw with a spring and a pin. So it's adjustable tension. So you still have a spring in it. It looks like the traditional one with like the trigger. But what I liked about it was really small profile. And I was like, oh, with this, see, here was my thinking. With the spring, I can tighten it really tight because it probably needs to be really tight.
Well, I think that's what most people assume. The tighter it is, the better. And really,
so you took that's my guitar right there with my capo, and the first thing you did was loosen the crap out of it.
I loosened the crap out of it. This Planet Waves capo is pretty good, so long as the tension is backed all the way off with this guitar. And I think even then, like even with the tension backed all the way off, it's still a little stiff, but it's not bad.
But let's compare the usage between that and the G7th. Is it G7 or G7?
G7th.
Okay. So at the G7th, every time you put that capo on the guitar, you have to apply the pressure you want, right?
You apply the pressure with your
so
fingers.
if you're in a live setting, though, and you're like in between songs and you don't really have much time, you really got to be used to setting that tension right where you want it every time, right?
Yeah, but here's the thing: is you're used to how much tension you want.
So
as a guitar player,
it becomes a habit
on your sense of your guitar, because the same thing could be said if you're using the any of the other ones. But if you're using the one that we just talked about, the Planet Waves one with the spring and the screw on it, if you have a tapered neck, if you're up by the net, you could where most people can like kind of capo the first fret, or even the third, but if you for whatever reason need to jump up to the 5th or 7th, that thing's gonna be crazy tight. So you're gonna have to adjust that again too.
Well, and that's a great point, Todd. I think.
Thanks, Chris.
Hey, no problem. If you got capo issues, pick up your guitar and look at it and see at the first fret, is it the same thickness as at the 12th fret or the 10th fret or the 5th fret? If the answer is that your guitar gets thicker as it goes higher and higher up the neck, the type of capo that you use is considerably more important. If it's a non-tapered neck that's the same width at capo 1 or fret 1 as it is at, say, fret 8.
There's not many that are like that, though. I mean,
A lot of them get gradually thicker.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But there's not a lot that are
You
non-tapered.
get into the handmade guitars, and some of the guys really don't have a certain specification the way they build those necks.
I mean, that has a tapered neck. It's an arched up, So it's like, because it has a big heel. If it's got a heel on towards the towards the heel.
Buy a capo
Towards the
for every guitar you have.
Well, actually, buy one for every fret. No.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That was very helpful. I have one. Hopefully I'm going to get one of those.
Let me talk about one more type of capo. One of my favorite types of capo, and G7th makes a version of this, is a dad-gad capo. And it basically only pushes down on 3 of your middle strings. So this is no capo. This one you put
Standard tuning.
on this standard tuning. You put this on the 2nd string or the 2nd fret, and now.
Ooh.
So what makes this cool is
That's cool.
You can play in dad-gad. So. Or you can play in standard capoed on the 2nd fret.
I love Tom Petty.
So yeah, you can do these kind of Irishy.
Now, what about slinging it to the backside? You ever do that?
You mean
So
a
you would
backwards?
Yeah. So like right now, it's sitting over the top, and you're capoing the first 4 strings, right?
No.
First 3 strings. So what if you capoed the high E?
Well, there definitely is some
That'll
cool
just
stuff.
be an A chord.
Yeah, so it's an A chord. So now I've got my capo on. Hold on. Anyways, you can play some sort of song on there.
That's kind of interesting. Okay, I was just curious.
I call it cheating, but I like it.
It's cheating, but if it makes you better and lets you focus on making a better
I
performance,
cheat the
Why
crap
not?
out of stuff.
yeah, I'll
dude.
cheat
Why
the crap.
not?
Yeah, all day long.
Nintendo made the game Genie, so
So
concept.
I know we've been talking smack about Kaisers, but a Kaiser, that's the one with their little curly Q. When you're thinking capo, you're probably thinking of a Kaiser.
Yeah.
If you turn a Kaiser backwards and that pad that's on the back of the neck, and you put that on your guitar as well, I'm using a Kaiser now, and basically you leave your first string open, and then you do 2nd fret
Yeah.
on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string, and leave your last 2 open, same thing. But because the Kaiser's got so much tension, it's a little out of tune.
Okay. Now let me ask you a question. Here's just a big ol' capo question. Could that not be solved by capoing on the actual fret?
It can to some degree, but you're still going to get a lot of tension on because it's not an infinitely thin piece of the capo. It's going to capo right on the top of the
front
fret,
end,
Not
right on
only
the back
that,
too.
Not only that, the capo itself will then get in the way of the natural vibration of the string.
True. And your fingers,
Indeed.
probably, or at least mine. Okay, awesome. That was super helpful. Thanks. I appreciate it. And we're going to post up a little picture of that big array of capos. And
This was not a paid endorsement by
put my
G7th Incorporated.
really nice guitar back in the case, I would greatly appreciate it. Yeah, and that was being played on a black matte Godin, Fifth Avenue with a single P90. That is a pretty guitar, man. I really
It's a
like
nice
that.
guitar.
It's pretty
I
rad.
like it.
Awesome.
Okay. Wee doggies. Lots of good information. I'm happy with this. All right. So we are going to jump into our Christmas list stuff. Yes. Oh my. Oh, well, I don't know. Whatever. Okay. All right. Who is going firsties? I'm sorry, I said firsties.
It's okay. We forgive you.
Who's going firsties?
Yeah, don't edit that out. That's
Mine's
all right.
probably the worst, so I'll go first.
Why is it the worst?
It's not that exciting.
First is the worst.
I for Christmas,
Wait a minute. Do you have a big list or a long list?
very short.
Okay.
This is just
You gotta get. This is your opportunity to get greedy, dude.
okay.
This is
Oh,
a hypothetical Christmas.
it's a
list.
hypothetical.
Yeah.
Okay, I can
Holy
go.
moly! You just.
I
spiked
can
like
definitely
crazy
go.
back there. I'm gonna back you off a little.
Sorry about that.
No, you're all
I got
right.
excited. Hypothetical Christmas lists are my favorite. Hypothetical Christmas list. I'm going to go. I would like a Gibson ES 125, which is essentially the Godin that we just played, the Fifth Avenue, but from the 50s or 60s.
Right.
Rad. I'd want one of those. I'd want.
What color?
I would go tobacco sunburst for sure. And then I would definitely want an early 60s twin reverb from Fender.
Okay.
And let's see here. I would also want.
Wait, a twin reverb?
You know they're loud as can be, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, but
Really?
they're also smooth and super clean.
They are.
So
Yeah,
for
but
that.
so it's like a deluxe.
You know why we know Fender Twin Reverb? Because they're so popular. They sound really good.
They're without a doubt the most popular vintage Fender.
My dad had one in the mid-'60s.
I have a 66.
Deluxe is a more popular.
Deluxe is really popular, too.
popular.
I don't know.
Well, let me clarify. I have a 1966 Fender Princeton reverb.
Yeah.
Which is basically.
I mean, that's the workhorse.
Yeah, I mean it's like go to. It's amazing. It crunches like no one's business, and it's clean, and it's not quiet enough to wake the neighbors.
Here's the
loud
thing.
enough.
Here's the thing. We are in an age, unless you are playing like out in the country where there's no PA. I'm trying to figure out at what point you're like, or unless you're on a huge stage, like a Fender Twin is going to really be needed.
Well, I like a Fender Twin because if you want to play super clean but still loud and have a lot of, shall we say, nuts,
Headroom.
Like a big, thick, fat tone, the Twin.
Did you just call a Fender Twin a big, thick, fat tone?
I mean, compared to compared to my Princeton, for clean tone, 212s is definitely going to sound a lot thicker than 110.
Would you I would say that would have been like, maybe a Vox or an Orange or a Marshall when we're talking about thickness.
Well, you can get real thick with a Fender Twin, and that's what attracts me to it.
I don't know that I've heard a Fender Twin like real thick.
Well, I'm talking clean tone. If you want crunchy and thick.
No, I'm just talking about thick. Interesting. Okay. Hey, man, different strokes, whatever.
Different strokes.
All right. So you want a twin.
Yeah, I'd want a Fender Twin.
All right.
And I would also want a Martin HD28 baritone guitar.
Ooh, okay.
An acoustic baritone. I've got a baritone acoustic.
I've got an HD28, but it's not a baritone.
I've got an HD28 myself as well. That's my favorite guitar in the world.
Model.
Ooh, that's the fancy one.
Yes.
That's the HD28V, I believe.
I don't know.
Anyways, it's like
Well, aren't you guys precious?
You want to borrow it?
Well, I mean, maybe. Yeah, that's what I'd want. And I think that's it.
That's it. No little bits and bobs.
Here's the thing. I could go on for the next
You got a little
4
bit of time.
hours. Okay. I would.
This is Santa's sitting there in his big red chair going like, Chris, like, seriously, you don't get this, do you, son? I'm writing out a list for you.
I would want the Edges from the band U2. I would want.
Oh, not the other edge?
No, not the other Edge. I would want his entire guitar rig.
Why?
Because
it's just a big rack.
I know it contains everything I could possibly need for the rest of my life.
I've seen the documentary.
Yeah, the documentary's.
I don't know. I
Play it
looked at that and I
loud
was
or
like,
gonna get loud or something.
Yeah. Play it loud.
No, that's all of that is wrong. It might get loud.
Yeah,
it might get loud. Yeah,
that's right.
That's right.
Yeah, I think one of those was like a Britney Spears DVD.
We could do a whole podcast critiquing "It Might Get Loud."
I love Britney Spears.
Yeah,
there's a lot of controversial things in that documentary.
Heck yeah. Just briefly, the only thing that really matters about that, all right, is when Paige gets up and does the first couple notes of his most famous song ever.
Ramble On?
Ramble On? Whole lot of love, man.
Oh, that's right.
And he starts playing that, and they show the Edge and they show Jack, and they instantly turn into 13-year-old kids who just crap their pants. Like that was like that brought the hair just stood up on my arms when he did that, and like watching those, I was like, that's exactly how we all feel every time we hear it. But they're sitting right in front of Paige. Oh man,
it came from him.
That's the best.
It was wild. I felt that Jack White was a little bit come-uppity.
Yeah, a lot of
in that
it
movie.
come
I
up
was like, dude, sit down.
I honestly, I mean, I was like, I get it. I get White, but like, there's a lot of other people that should have been on that couch.
That was my thought too. But even with I just, no matter who it was, if you're sitting there with Jimmy Page, just close your mouth and let the man talk and learn from his.
I think that's
wisdom.
why they wanted him on there, though.
Maybe.
He was
You might be
so
right.
different
Huge,
than
so huge.
everybody else.
Okay, wait, we have derailed. Santa's
We
like,
have.
like, boys, you each get a copy in your stocking. Shut up. All right.
Oh, okay. So I get to continue. I would like, a Martin baritone dreadnought acoustic guitar. That'd be super fun.
We did that.
And so I'm just kind of getting us back on track here.
Okay, thanks.
And I would want a truck full of weird electric guitars that I had never seen or heard of before. So like weird Japanese guitars from the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
Weird K guitars.
Tyskos,
Yeah.
Nationals,
The
weird stuff.
See, those things, those ones, it's funny.
weirder the
when
better.
I see those on Craigslist and stuff, because I'm on it all the damn time, I look at them like, ooh, that one's cool. Yeah, I bet that one's fun. And then I see them in person, I'm like, good gravy. Why would I be? No.
I just want a room full of really weird esoteric guitars.
Yeah, no, I can dig that.
Truck
I mean,
full
we got
of weird
the pawn
guitars.
shops right up the street. We can just go sit there for a
This is
little while. All right. You went top shelf. Now, Grandma, who's on Social Security, who also isn't, Santa's got his list, but, Grandma, she's got all her grandkids, she's paying for stuff. So what's Grandma getting you?
Get the dang, not for me, but for everybody else, get the dang G7th Capo, man. Make yourself sound better, not just have better tone.
I think I'm going to check one of those out.
Oh, boy. They're so juicy.
All right. Sounds good, man.
Hell yeah, mine.
All right, Jared, Santa Claus is coming to town. What's he bringing you?
First thing that sticks in my mind, I want a 1970 Les Paul Custom, a black one. Because my dad had one.
Like a Black Beauty?
A Black Beauty. My father had one, and that's the only reason why I want it. I've got a lot of guitars, and I'm very satisfied and happy with what I have. But
You are a very satisfied man. I when we were traveling recently, and I was asking, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't think I want anything." I'm like, you are bad at this game.
yeah, well, I mean, I'm thankful, and I'm very appreciative of the collection I have now, and I even have some in the oven right now, so to
That's the
speak.
best part of being a guitar player is that the greed that comes along with it
Exactly.
is inherent and endless.
It is. Now, what I'd really like to do also is to open up a nice guitar case and see an original 1969 Sunburst Dove Custom. I have one. My dad bought one used, but I want another one to compare it to the one I have now, which is my
Interesting.
dad's. That had a retop done, and it was done absolutely beautifully. The old bridge went to poo. The bracing kind of came unglued, and the top deformed a little bit, so it had to be redone. There was no restoring the original top, but I do have the original top in my basement hanging up, drying out. But so I'd love to compare.
Drying out in the basement. That's
It's just not being taken. It's just hanging up like a photo, man. It's like a picture. But it
curly
means a lot. It
photo,
was
but-
my dad's, though. So
Yeah.
You should put it into a coffee table or something like
I
that.
know.
Integrate
Frame
it into
it.
a piece of furniture.
you know what?
You
I
like
thought
integrating
about
things.
it, but I would make it into 3 things because I would give the other 2 pieces to my brothers. But anyway, nostalgic thing. But yeah, I'd love to compare. And the only other actual Sunburst Gibson Dove that I've ever seen in existence is among the collection of Ace Frehley. I've never seen another
Maybe he'll let you borrow his.
60s. Yeah. If I tell him I have one, he'll be
Ace, if
intrigued
you're
and
listening,
he'll want to see
which
it.
we know you are,
Right.
just can you loan that to Jared?
And I'll loan
just
you
for
mine.
a little bit. Yeah,
Just for a little bit, but I want mine back.
yeah. Well, you can give him one of your SGs. Like
I
your
want to
61
compare,
SG or
man.
something like that.
I want to compare the two. I just want to see another one.
Okay.
It's a 69. So as far as little things, and just get me a bunch of strings. I want Martin strings. I want Elixir strings. Or is that the way you say it?
Santa
Elixir?
just rolled his eyeballs at both of you guys.
Hey man, I want a few different versions of the Ibanez Tube Screamer. So I want to compare
now you're
all
talking.
those.
Now you're talking.
Right.
Good.
I do. And
Why? Okay, so when you're saying different versions of it,
I have two versions now. I have
Okay.
some modded Ibanez old version. I don't think it's the rare Japan one that fetches a lot of money, but I have a newer. Oh my gosh, the name left my brain. It's something Tron. I have a different version
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
because of the
Tip of
way
the
I
tongue.
said it. What is it?
It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of what
Yeah,
it is.
because of the way I said it made everybody forget what it is. But anyway, Maxton.
Yes. Oh, that's the
Maxton.
expensive one. Yeah.
Right, it is. That one has a little more juice. Like it's a little more powerful than the Ibanez. But I know there's a few more versions out there.
It's the purple one, right?
TS9,
No?
TS808.
No, it's green.
Interesting.
So give me all the versions of those. And as far as amp goes, I have a Buddha right now, a 30 watt. That thing blows my eardrums out. I want a 15 watt Buddha. And while we're on the want train right now, I want all vintage tubes for all my tube amps. I want old RCAs. I want the German ones or the Russian ones, whatever. And last but not least, I gotta have a Dave Harris amp. Gotta have one of those. I actually listened to one in a buddy's studio of a fellow that makes picks for a living, and he lives around here. Gotta get him in here. But that thing sounded fantastic. And the Dave Harris amp, that's totally doable. So I'm definitely planning
That's
on
from the
getting
Tube
one
Amp
of those.
Factory.
We should discuss tube rolling in vacuum tube amplifiers. That's what you sort of just talked about. Tube rolling is the practice of swapping different brands and styles of vacuum tubes in and out of the amp to modify the tone of the amp,
Yeah.
and it is not a small difference.
It's a massive difference.
Massive difference. I have,
But it's also it can blow stuff up.
I want to
Not
be more
necessarily.
educated on that.
most of the time you're tube rolling your preamp, your 12AX7 preamp tube.
Oh, okay.
So I have maybe a dozen or maybe 2 dozen various 12AX7s, Telefunkens, RCAs,
Yeah.
Salina or Sylvania.
Sylvania's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have an extremely wide variety of 12AX7s that I've collected
Wow.
over the years. And some modern and a lot vintage. And yeah, just swapping those in and out. We should talk about that more.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
You need, Jared, you need way more amps. You need way more amps.
I need to be
simply
educated on
hear
amps. That's what I need.
Your stuff, pickups on different amps, like
I mean, I've already got like, what,
get
6 or
yourself
7
a trainer,
now,
get
but-
yourself a high watt, get yourself, a big old Vox.
Mm-hmm.
All those things you need. Santa can
a
do it for
dark
you too,
box.
buddy.
Yeah.
If you've been good.
Oh, yeah. So
All right.
that's what comes to mind when I think of guitar stuff for Christmas.
All right. I can get down with that. Well, I'm a greedy bastard. Let me just tell you that.
Lay it on me,
need a new
man.
sheet of paper right about now.
Yeah.
All right. So the number one top shelf kind of thing that I would want. Look, these lists we can list everything that we ever wanted, right? So we just had to kind of go like, hey, well, let's narrow it down for a listy poo here. Mine would be embarrassingly long and would cover just about everything. But I would love to get one of the Chasing Vintage guitars, the Challenger model. Good gravy. Great googly moogly.
Chase is he's a heck of a luthier.
Yeah, we're gonna have him in hopefully sometime soon. But
can't wait.
every time he posts one of those things up there, I just dang near cry. I mean, those are gorgeous. And I've being able to actually hold one and hear one at the show was like, oof, wow. There are I would also like, for maybe on the little bit of a lower scale. So I have somewhat of a descending order here. I want a Telecaster custom, mainly, honestly, and this is not a plug because I want to put Jared's wide range pickups in that thing. I want a guitar with those things in it, and I'm a huge fan of the custom.
I would recommend anything but the original because of the neck profile.
Interesting.
Seriously. They were very small, thin necks.
Yeah.
And the original ones. And they're heavier. And I'm not a fan of the original 72 Fender guitars.
Okay.
I'm not. I mean, would I like to have one anyway? Well, heck yeah. Because that's what originally came out. But I would recommend a copy.
Yeah.
It sounds like silly, but it's true.
Scroll headstock. Yeah. I want black pickguard on black.
Get what you want, man.
Yeah. If a gentleman, me or Todd, were building a thin line
I was wondering where that was going. If a gentleman a drink.
I am building a Telecaster thin line right now. We're going to pitch you real hard right now, Jared. If I wanted to buy 2 of your custom thin line pickups, what would that set a gentleman back?
The wide range?
The wide range.
$195
for 2?
That's right.
Interesting.
That is the lowest price you will find for.
Actually, you can get lower. You know how you can get lower? If you go to our website and click on the very top banner, there's a 10% off.
Ooh.
There it is. You heard it here. Oh. And it's very true.
Jared just got a little bit red.
I forgot about that, but I honor it. Take advantage of it, people.
Yeah,
I need to come out with it.
We'll pull that down in 2000 at January 1st, 2017. That's going to come down.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
All right,
we'll put up a Chris Graham mastering coupon on January 1st.
You're building a thin line?
I am.
Interesting.
I am too now.
We got to talk about what?
Yeah, it's going to be.
What the hell's going on?
What?
You guys got to tell me about
It's going to be jet boat. I think purple or blue. I don't remember. It's just going to be gaudy sparkle. It's going to be glorious.
Tongue oil.
Wait.
That's what I'm doing.
I'm doing the opposite.
Raw wood with oil on it.
You guys are killing me right now.
10 pounds of paint on mine.
First of all, you're cutting into Santa's time. Second of all, you're supposed to tell me about this crap because I want to build one too, damn it, but not a thin line. All right, we'll talk about this over pizza and then we'll bring this on to the next episode.
Sounds good.
Okay. I also want... I want a new ebony floating bridge for my Godin that we just played because right now, it's a good quality guitar. If like all the parts, like it feels real good, it feels real quality. Look, it's not a $2,000 guitar. I realize that, but Godin, it's a plastic bridge.
Is it?
It is.
And
I'm like,
right,
guys. It just
you need to get rid of this.
Yeah, so I want an ebony bridge for that. Or an ebony with a bone inset. Either one, I'm fine.
Or rosewood. Rosewood would sound pretty good on this.
Yeah, but I want it black.
Have you checked out Stuart McDonald?
I have.
They're excellent for
He's
this.
got one.
Exactly this sort
He's
of
got
thing.
one that I want.
And they're here in Ohio,
Athens. Okay,
Indeed.
and moving on down to I'm a pedal hungry. I can talk too. I'm a pedal hungry man boy. I would love to get a Hungry Robot Carmen. I know I'm probably saying that wrong. Carman line.
I don't know what that is.
Pedal.
Where in the world
it's
can
like
you buy
a delay
Carmen?
with a like oscillation factor to it, and it's got a joystick on it. And I'm like, ooh, that's cool, right?
That I'd like to see.
Yeah. That one is it's Karma. It's spelled Karman. I've heard one. I was like, wowzers! I like that. It's like lo-fi delays. Got this like oscillation that can just go all kinds of which ways. It's a very soundscapey pedal. So I like it. It's got a momentary swell switch on it. So yeah, exactly. So happy fun times playing that. That would be really cool. It's a bigger, slightly bigger pedal. So if you have a tiny board, yeah, you got to make room.
I can revise my list after this. You guys have inspired me, right?
Oh, good. We got time.
Good. Okay, good.
I would also really like an Earthquaker devices, the Depths.
I don't know what that is.
It's an optical vibe. Glad you asked.
What the hell is an optical glow? I don't even know what that is.
An optical vibe. So it's
vibe.
Look, it's a vibe pedal, but it's using optics to control it, kind of like an optical wah.
I got you. Okay, that's cool.
Optical volume.
Yeah.
So
it's like a tremolo that uses optical.
Well, no, it's got vibe. It's more of a vibe. So it's probably it's along the lines of like
So the pitch is going up and down.
So here, let me tell you about that really quick. The knobs on it, the intensity, voice, level, rate, and throb. Oh, yes.
Throb?
So what it does, it adds some extra voicing to a vibe like tone, a vibe quality thing. So it's not just a straight up tremolo type thing, right? It's actually vibing. So it's a little bit more dimensional than that. TC Electronics has something called a viscous vibe, which I'm also a really big fan of.
Shout out to TC Electronics. You guys make great stuff.
I like it. And so it's along those lines where it's not as maybe one dimensional as a uni vibe. It's got a little bit more like juice to it, a little more playability. So I dig it. And it's Earthquaker, and that's cool because they're a small little company. They're getting bigger, but they're still, and they're Ohio too. How cool is that?
There is a band called the Earthquakers,
I'm sure there was many.
but they dress like Quakers. But they rock.
What?
I'm dead serious.
That's
They do.
amazing.
I'm so glad you said that.
Well, they do. That's
dress like Quakers?
That's exactly what they do. They've got the Amish-looking beards and
Like big giant like fuzz rock.
and they wear the
rock.
handmade clothes, but they rock. They do stuff like AC/DC and all those crazy rock covers and all that. And they used to do Bike Week up in Sandusky, Ohio, about 10 years ago.
Okay, so for everybody else in the country,
Sorry,
because
we veered off
I'm
here.
still new to this area. All I heard was they used to do Bike Week up in Sandusky and the Quakers and that was funny. I'm glad you're here.
Quakers are you're like the Amish. They're like the Amish, I guess.
Tommy Boy's gonna jump out any minute.
Holy shnikes.
And they're people that don't believe in modern technology, so they still like farm for a living with like horses and threshers and
Right.
there's a lot of them near us.
Yeah, there's a lot. We're in Ohio, and we're kind of circularly, well, not circularly because it's mostly east, right? So like semicircularly surrounded by.
It's a great gimmick, and it
Amish,
works.
yeah.
I mean, they got work all the time. But
Yeah.
Oh, you meant the band. I thought you meant the like religion for a minute.
no,
there. I
no,
was
the
like,
band. The band. I know more about the band than I do the religion. So.
there you go.
It's a way of life too.
But no offense to the actual Quakers.
They're not
I
listening.
doubt they're listening to the podcast.
Okay. Anyways,
They don't
let's
have
move
electricity.
on. I'm gonna keep going because, like I said,
Sorry.
I've got a great big stocking and a big fat tree, and I'm gonna put something underneath it to make it happy for me. I want a gift certificate to Mammoth Electronics. I like building pedals a lot, and I'm just really excited about doing that kind of stuff. And
Shout out to Mammoth Electronics. You make great stuff.
this isn't so. I don't want this to feel like it's a shout out podcast, but I mean, hey, look, it's out. They do. And it's good. It's
true.
cool. And everybody go make
I'm a
yourself a pedal.
customer.
So here's another thing. I would like to get, and I would love to know if anybody out there has this nailed down. I've been trying to shop for thumb picks, not because I decided that I'm going to be all bluegrassy, not because I am going to learn how to play the banjo, because what I have found is after playing in one of the bands I play, like I got to use a jackhammer right hand, and I have on occasion like just gotten cramped up, and I'm like, crap.
Happens to everybody, man.
Yeah, and I'm just like, so now I'm playing like with a claw, and I'm like, damn, right? Because all the blood's just like going jang, jang,
Right.
jang, 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 right, and in my hand. And so I'm like, you know what I need? I probably need to get like a thumb pick or something that I can at least I won't drop it just because my hand is froze up. So what I'm looking for is large thumb picks. Now the problem is when you go, they don't tend to do them by size and weight for whatever reason. I can't find that. They just go size, and that's kind of it. And it's super confusing. Like if you get a thin pick, it's usually real small. So I want a large to fit on my thumb, and I want it to be like 1.0 weight.
I challenge you to make your own.
I was going to say, is there a way you can modify one?
I think that you could buy the straight material and boil it and then mold it around your own thumb.
Right.
While it was still hot.
Look that up.
We need to talk to Pick Guy. I need some of these things, man. Seriously.
He builds mostly picks out of
stone,
alloy,
and glass, and the pick world's going bonkers right now.
Alloys, yeah.
And like I understand, people are going like, dude, precision picks. It's all about precision picks, bro. Titanium, precision diamond picks. It's like I get that if you are like shredding, or if you're doing like sweeps and all kinds of stuff. Like I'm not doing that. I just need something that's gonna stay in my dang hand. Okay. I also would like some nut files. Har, bring on the nut jokes.
File.
Yeah, no, there's nothing funny with files, but nuts are funny. Look, let's just admit it. But
not cheap.
For whatever reason, I've done like 4 nut jobs. That's got to be a better way to say that. But I've done 4 nut repairs in which I've had to like build nuts, and somehow up to this point, I've made it without nut files. It's not the way I want to do it.
Let me ask you a question.
But why are they so expensive?
Do you have thickness gauges when you do that as well?
Thickness gauges. I do have thickness gauges, yes.
I find it impossible to do good nut work without a thickness feeler gauge. And there's a book by, what's the guy's name? He works at Stu Mac.
Dan Early Wine.
He's got this great book.
He's friends with like 3 of our mutual friends. He's going to be on the show. We got to get him on the show.
I hope so.
We'll get him on the show.
I love him.
Okay.
He's been my hero since I was like 13.
Okay.
But in his book, he talks about...
he's from Stu Mac.
He's from Stu Mac. Yeah. He talks about methodology with making a new nut.
Yeah.
And with not only the right file, but the right thickness feeler so that you file down to that thickness feeler.
I make some good nuts. I will say I have been very successful in doing so.
Awesome.
But it would just be easier with the right tools for it.
Well,
somehow I've managed to do it, and I'm like, dude, this is sweet. It looks good, and it's like you truly wouldn't know that it was not done.
Well, and that's one of the things is even on a pretty nice guitar, they cut corners on the nut. Like they use some plastic
of that
or
stuff.
fake.
Yeah.
It's harder than you think too.
It's hard.
It is. It's way harder.
On that 50 Strat I was talking about a few podcasts ago, I had to order a nut for the neck, and because the guy that built that neck before used too much glue, you only want a little bit of glue under that nut.
Yeah, just water it down. Water a little dab of wood glue, a little bit of water.
So my buddy's like, hey man, I need a new nut for it. Just buy that for me. And blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, I'll go on to Stu Mac and buy it. I went on to Stu Mac. I'm like, what? There's like 10 or 12 different, 100 different nuts.
It's
and
a science, man.
Which one, man?
Yeah.
So I had to text him the picture of the choices and be like, which one? And he had to tell me. And the choice that he told me to pick was not on the screen. I didn't even know where that was on the way. It's very confusing. So
yeah, it takes a while to learn, but once you get it down, it's like, oh man, I got.
Yeah. Once
no
you get it down,
problem.
it's an easy way to take a okay guitar and take it up to the next level.
Yeah,
Your guitar is not awesome.
Yeah,
unless it has a real bone nut.
Yeah, or Tusk.
I don't know.
Okay, and then the last thing I want is a G7 Capo. So
there it is.
I mean, after hearing all that, it was like kind of
you gotta have
to have
it.
Yeah,
you gotta have it.
So many things. That's why I love Christmas, man. So many good things I get to have, but usually I ask for and don't get them all. But anyways, that's the cool part about being in the guitar world and in whatever capacity is like just dreaming of things that you want is fun, and like imagining all the different combos and customizations and everything. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. So anyways, let's move on to our top 4. Okay? Even though it's a top 3, it's okay. Jeff out there he's sending us his top 4.
I can feel
maybe
it.
I will, maybe I wasn't. I don't know. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Okay, so our top 4 today is worst guitar gift you can get. Not that you've been given. We don't want to offend. But think about like the worst guitar gift that you're just like, please don't give me this. Because everybody who knows us who's like, oh yes, he's into guitars. What should I get him? What should I? Maybe he'd like this. Would he like this? And they're like, please don't give me that. Please don't give me that. Please don't. Damn it, you got me that. All right, so I'm gonna go first. Change of pace. Do not, please, get me a guitar maker puncher thing. Turn your credit card into a guitar. I don't want. That's ridiculous. No.
The pick
absolutely
punch?
not. The pick punch. No.
I have one of those. I got one of those.
So you already got one,
I used it once, and
then you're like, this is why. Well, no. Why?
yeah, because I don't use it because credit card is not the right thickness for me.
I
Right.
agree.
Yeah, and,
Yeah,
and
why would
lots
you
of
want
other
that?
reasons.
Yeah.
That is the equivalent in the guitar world to the golf ball initial stamper in the golf world. It's the same thing.
It's going to change aerodynamics.
Yeah,
You know? It's going to
Like
ruin everything.
personalized golf balls. No, it washes right off. That is absolutely bonkers. Oh, I got one of those one time. Oh, boy. Okay, Chris.
I would have to say, and this is a goofball one, a vintage guitar case. Because I would come down
Wait, a what?
a vintage guitar case.
A new case
Just the
that's a
case.
vintage reissue?
No, like an actual vintage case. So like
Okay.
I walk downstairs and there's like a Gibson ES 335
I
guitar
get
case
you.
from
And you
1965.
lose your
and I'm
mind
like,
and-
yes, this is going to be awesome.
You open it and
I
it's
open it,
empty.
It's empty.
And it smells.
We got you a guitar
Probably
case.
smells like smoke, and it probably has mold in it.
Cool.
And cat pee.
I got really excited.
Yeah,
And then-
that's a good one.
And I got my.
It's a little bit less about the gift and more about the
the
I
letdown,
just got
the moment.
letdown.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I can understand that. All right, Jared.
Do not get me, please, ever, do not get me a vinyl guitar strap.
A vinyl guitar strap?
Well, the guitar strap at the fake leather and the edge is super
yeah,
sharp.
Yeah.
Number one, I'm 6'6", about 320.
Which is misleading because there's some of the Fender ones that are like that, and you're like, what? How?
I know.
You know, with the Fenders with the yellow and brown square things.
They usually
that go up
don't
and
fit
down
me in the first place.
Yeah, you
I'm
need
a
like
very
two
big
straps
guy,
to strap
man.
together.
And yeah, so don't get me the cut your neck straps, please.
Yeah, don't cut Jared's neck. Damn it.
Yeah.
All right.
Irritating.
Okay, I think Santa is pleased. I know that I am, and we hope that you are, everybody that's listening. Please continue with your comments and all the good things that you have to tell us. And hey, you know what? We are open to hear things that are not like that. Actually, I had a comment this weekend, and it was like, hey, this was cool about your podcast. This is what isn't. And I was like, duly noted. So we'll try to work that out. Anyways, so thanks. Have an awesome holiday. Hope your guitar gift desires come true. And that's it. Wait, did you guys hear that?
You're supposed to say subscribe.
Subscribe! Woo! Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit us at our website at theguitarknobs.com for episodes, news, and guest profiles. You can get all social with us on our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/guitarknobs. Give us a tweet at guitar_knobs. And check out our gallery on Instagram at guitarknobs. No spaces on that one.